You wake up one morning and something feels wrong. Not loud, not sudden, just heavy. The dreams that once lit your eyes now leave a bitter aftertaste, like something you forgot to protect. The mirror doesn't lie anymore. It reflects a face that bartered youth for acceptance, freedom for comfort, and traded decades for fleeting nods of approval. There's a silent dread rising inside you, a murmur that says, "This isn't the life you were meant to live." But you hush it, because numbing is easier than listening, easier to scroll, easier to laugh on cue, to blend into conversations that feel like static, to make it through one more day in a life that feels like someone else's. NZ once said, "Your second life begins the moment you realize you only have one." But most never do. They walk as though time is infinite, as if regret can be rewritten, as if dreams are loyal enough to wait forever, as if you can always come back and fix what was broken. But you weren't raised to live. You were raised to obey, to color inside the lines drawn by people long gone, to trade passion for safety, to bury wonder under duty, to confuse existing with living. But something always breaks the spell. Sometimes it's grief, sometimes betrayal. Sometimes you just wake up and realize you've become a stranger in your own story, and it hurts. But in that pain, the illusion fractures, and you finally see it. You don't have forever. You have now. You have this breath, this heartbeat, this fleeting moment that begs to be lived, not endured. And for the first time, you're not afraid to fall. You're afraid to waste what little time is left. So you stop begging for permission to exist. You stop shrinking to fit places you've outgrown. You stop performing for applause that won't follow you into the dark. You realize no one is coming to rescue you. There is no perfect moment, no flashing sign, no grand second warning. This is it. Your life is happening, right now, whether you're ready or not. NZ believed that life should be lived as if you'd have to relive it. Every choice, every silence, every moment you ignored your own voice, repeating endlessly. So ask yourself, if today had to repeat for eternity, would it feel like a blessing or a curse? That's the brutal, exquisite truth of being alive. It offers no promises, no guarantees of love, of success, of redemption. Only this, that it ends. And the question is, will you have lived before it does? And yet most people will spend more time preparing for death than they ever spend learning how to live. Polishing the stone, trimming the grass, arranging the flowers around a grave they never escaped. But you don't have to be most people. Your second life doesn't start with a promotion or a passport stamp or a new face in a new city. It begins with a quiet, shattering truth. You only get one. And when that truth finally settles into your bones, when it echoes so loudly through your chest that you can't unhear it, you wake up, and you cannot go back to sleep. You begin to live, not recklessly, but urgently, ferociously, gratefully. You start refusing what diminishes you. You start embracing what sets your soul on fire. You learn to love like time is running out, because it is. You forgive without needing to win. You create without needing permission. You stop asking for signs. You realize you are the sign, that waking up was always the miracle. And in that sacred clarity, you recognize time for what it truly is, your most fragile, most priceless possession. You are not reborn as someone new. You are reborn as someone real. This second life doesn't erase the pain of the first. It bows to it, thanks it for its brutal lessons, then lets it go. Because you can't walk into the future dragging your own coffin behind you. You must bury the dead weight, the shame, the roles, the silence, and step forward. Bruised, yes. Imperfect, absolutely. But finally alive. Because no matter how much time you think you have left, the only life that ever mattered is the one you choose to live now. You're told to dream big, but punished the moment your dream makes others uncomfortable. You're told you can be anything, until you try. Then you're mocked, dismissed, shrunk. The world loves a dreamer so long as the dream is quiet, safe, containable. NZ saw it clearly. The great contradiction, we celebrate potential, but we punish those who dare to become real. Because this world isn't built to nourish greatness, it's built to manufacture obedience. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, Inza once wrote. But what he left unspoken was darker still. Most people never find their why. They live and die buried beneath everyone else's how. You're born into expectation. Study, obey, marry, produce, consume, fit the mold, follow the script. And by the time you're old enough to ask who you really are, you've built a life you secretly resent, a life designed to impress the very people who will never live it with you. You're not living, you're performing. Every decision, every compromise, every silenced desire made not for you, but for an invisible jury you imagine in your mind. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. That jury doesn't exist. They were never watching, but you were. And now, you're awake. You stay in jobs that wither your spirit. You stay in relationships that drain the light from your eyes. You silence your curiosity, dim your fire, bury your brilliance, all because someone, somewhere, might not approve. And yet the very people you're breaking yourself to please will not stand at your funeral wondering why you weren't happier. They'll forget your laughter. They'll forget your dreams. Inns understood something most refuse to face. To live fully, you must be willing to walk alone, to endure the silence of solitude rather than the noise of false belonging. Because greatness demands exile. Authenticity demands rebellion. The tragedy isn't that people die. The tragedy is that most people never live before they do. You can feel it all around you. The quiet ache beneath the surface. The laughter that ends too quickly. The promotions clutched like lifeboats, while peace sinks quietly below. The way vacations are framed like escapes from a life no one wants to return to. This is what Nzi called the herd instinct, the blind drift of those who fear the weight of thinking for themselves. It's safer to be accepted than it is to be free. Easier to be rewarded for obedience than to suffer for being real. But there is a cost, always a cost. A soul that denies its own truth will slowly begin to rot. You can decorate your prison. You can call the chains by sweeter names. You can hang art on the bars and pretend it's a home. But a cage, no matter how gilded, is still a cage. And freedom? Freedom is not soft. It's not easy. It is raw and terrifying and demands everything from you. Because freedom insists that you alone are responsible for your life. And that kind of truth is what keeps most people asleep. They tell themselves, it's not the right time. Maybe next year. I'll chase the dream when the kids are grown. I'll start living once I retire. But time does not negotiate. It doesn't pause for your excuses. It doesn't wait for your fears to subside. The moment you realize you only get one life is the moment you either wake up or you fall deeper into the dream until it swallows you whole. Nietzsche warned, if you don't face your mortality, it will face you through regret. And regret is not a clean wound. It festers, it haunts, it poisons every memory of what could have been. You think there's time. You think you can wait. But look closer. How many years have already blurred past you without meaning, without truth, without you in them? How many days have you lived half asleep, moving through routines, checking boxes, doing what was expected, never once stopping to ask if it was what you wanted? You don't lose your life in one grand moment. You lose it in the quiet, in the small, invisible surrenders. A choice deferred, a truth swallowed, a dream shelved until it rots into a haunting echo of what could have been. Nietzsche didn't write to comfort you. He wrote to confront you. His words weren't balm, they were fire. A mirror held up not to flatter, but to disturb. Because sometimes only terror can wake you. You weren't born to coast. You weren't made for safety. You were meant to burn, with purpose, with hunger, with a life so piercingly yours that the idea of living someone else's script makes your skin crawl. And yet the question remains, now that you know, now that the truth has found you, what will you do? What will you do with the unbearable, unshakable truth that your time is running out? Will you shrink back into comfort? Will you soothe your fear with empty logic? Will you keep pretending this life, this half-life, is enough? Or will you begin again? Begin the life that was meant for you before fear rewrote the lines. This is not a philosophical dilemma. This is a now or never moment. Every second you wait is a second stolen by the illusion of security. Every moment you hesitate is another thread cut from the tapestry of who you could become. There will never be a perfect day. There will never be a clean entry point. There will never be a guarantee you won't fall. There will only ever be now, and now demands your courage. Regret doesn't arrive like thunder. It doesn't crash in, all at once. It seeps in, quiet as breath, cold as fog. One unopened door. One dream you swore you'd get to later. One moment you let pass because you were too afraid to begin. And at first, everything still looks normal. The bills are paid, the birthdays come and go, the vacations are booked. But beneath the surface, something begins to wither. You smile, but less often. You laugh, but it doesn't reach your chest. You wake up with a weight you can't name. This isn't sadness. This isn't even depression. It's the slow erosion of an unlived life. Regret doesn't scream. It doesn't wail. It waits. And when the world is silent, in the early hours of the morning, in the stillness between distractions, it whispers, "You could have been more." And you try to drown it with scrolling, with noise, with overwork, with anything that numbs the ache. But it waits, and it will always wait until you choose to live. But no matter how loud the distractions, the whisper only grows louder. Because regret isn't about what you did. It's about what you didn't do, what you were too afraid to try, too hesitant to reach for, too busy surviving to truly live. NZ believed that regret is the cruelest form of self-betrayal. Not the sting of failure, but the slow, haunting realization that you squandered the only miracle you were ever truly given. The miracle of existence. You won't regret the risks that broke you. You won't regret the dreams that ended in ashes. You'll regret the silence, the hesitation, the years you spent tiptoeing around the life you were meant to live. You'll regret the time you traded for approval, the words you never spoke, the fire you smothered because someone, somewhere, might have disapproved. Look around you. How many people do you know who are already dead, even though their bodies still breathe? They wake to alarms they resent. They smile through celebrations they feel nothing for. They walk through days like ghosts, performing a life that has long stopped feeling like their own. Spiritually, they are graves in motion. And when you stand near them, you feel it. The invisible grief, the weight behind their eyes, the quiet panic they bury beneath noise, routine, and endless distraction. This is the death Nietzsche warned of, not the one that ends your life, but the one that keeps you from ever truly living it. And every day you postpone your becoming, you feed that quiet death. You surrender another piece of your soul to comfort, to fear, to the prison of the familiar. The tragedy? Most never even know what they've lost. Not until it's gone. Not until their time has dried up and there's nothing left to chase. Because the world taught you to measure your worth in metrics, in salaries, in likes, in things. But none of those will hold you at 3 a.m. when regret claws at your chest. None of those will drown out the echo of all the lives you never dared to live. Only one question will matter. Did you live? Did you become who you were meant to be? Or did you die a quiet death long before your body did? You are not afraid of dying. You are afraid of dying without having lived. And if you're brave enough to feel that fear fully, to stare it down without flinching, it can become your beginning. Because fear is a double-edged sword. It can chain you to a small life, or it can awaken you. Most let it shrink them. But you can choose differently. Let that fear become your fire. Let it chase you out of numbness. Let it remind you that time is vanishing, and so are your excuses. Inns believe that life is not for the faint of heart. It is for the ones willing to stare down the unbearable truth of their own mortality. And in that stare, not crumble, but rise. To find a reason to live so fiercely that death itself becomes a footnote, an afterthought. And now here you are, standing at the edge, between merely existing and actually living. You can close your eyes again, numb the ache, dull the discontent, pretend you're fine, pretend you have time. Or you can choose the terror of waking up. You can choose to feel the pressure of your unlived life, not to break you, but to forge you into something that cannot be stopped. You don't need more time. You need more truth. You don't need more motivation. You need more courage. You don't need more years. You need to stop wasting the ones you already have. Because this slow erosion, this silent death of the soul, this regret that grows like mold in the places you never dared to bloom, it is preventable. But only if you do what most never will. Choose to live. Not later. Not when it's easy. Not when it's safe. Now, the death of your first life is quiet. There's no obituary, no mourning, no moment of silence. It dies when you realize the life you were building was made of borrowed dreams and someone else's approval. It dies when you stop chasing applause from people who don't even know what they stand for. It dies when you stop apologizing for being too bold, too intense, too real. It dies when you accept fully and finally that the version of you who stayed small to survive is never coming back. And in that stillness, you are reborn, not into ease, not into perfection, but into freedom. Your second life won't be louder. It won't be shinier. It will be truer. You'll lose people. You'll be misunderstood. You'll feel alone more times than you care to count. But you will find yourself. And that trade is always worth it. The world won't cheer you on for choosing authenticity. It will flinch. Because every step you take toward truth is a mirror to those still running from their own. Your light will disrupt their shadows. Your freedom will rattle their cages. Let it. You were never meant to play small so others could feel comfortable. You are not here to dim. You are not here to blend in. You are here to blaze, to burn through your time with such unapologetic fierceness that the world cannot pretend you were never here. You were here, fully, wildly, unforgettably here. Inns believed the greatest sin wasn't pain, it wasn't failure, it was mediocrity. It was the tragedy of a life only half lived, dreams only half dreamed, a soul only half awake. Your second life demands more, not a version of you diluted for comfort, but the whole of you, the one who dares, the one who speaks, even when their voice trembles, the one who stands alone rather than kneel in a crowd that's forgotten how to feel. And no, this second life will not be easy. There will be days you question everything. Days when fear feels heavier than hope. Days when it would be easier to slip back into the numbness. But remember this, pain is temporary, regret is forever. You can heal from a broken heart, you can rise from failure, but you cannot undo the weight of never having tried. Every step into your second life will sting, not because you're wrong, but because you're shedding the skin of a self that was slowly killing you. You'll grieve for that old version, the one who tolerated less than she deserved, the one who stayed in places long after the light left, the one who apologized for shining too brightly. But still, you will rise. Not because you're fearless, but because you finally learned that fear isn't a stop sign. It's a flare, a signal that you're on the edge of something true, and you're ready to leap. If you knew you only had 1 year left, really knew it, you wouldn't waste another moment playing small. You wouldn't keep justifying your worth. You wouldn't shrink to be liked. You wouldn't wait for someone else to hand you permission. You'd live with wild urgency, with fierce gratitude, with savage, unapologetic wonder. You'd love harder. You'd walk away from everything that made you feel invisible. You'd chase the dreams that scare you, because they're the only ones that matter. And you would never again waste a single heartbeat asking the world if it's okay to truly live. Your second life doesn't begin when the world softens, when the timing is perfect, when others finally get you. It begins when you do. When you decide, fully, fiercely, finally, that surviving isn't enough, that existing isn't enough, that you're ready to live, even if no one applauds, even if no one joins you, even if they call you selfish for choosing yourself. Let them. The first life was theirs. The second, it's yours. The question was never, will you be afraid? You will be. The question is, will you choose life anyway? Because if you don't, you'll be haunted by a ghost. The ghost of the life you could have lived. The love you could have given. the person you could have become. But if you do, if you choose to burn, even briefly, even if it costs you comfort and predictability, you will die with nothing left unspoken, untried, unloved. Only gratitude that you did not leave this world without ever showing it who you truly were. Final words to you. You have one life, one fragile, breathtaking miracle. Stop rehearsing, stop delaying, stop surviving. Live, right now, right here, without apology, because your second life is waiting, and it begins the moment you stop pretending you have time. Before you go, ask yourself one question. If today were the only day you were guaranteed, would you still waste it pretending? If this spoke to something buried deep inside you, type it below. I'm ready to live my second life. Not tomorrow, not someday, today.